Everything's fine. Nope. I about died on the test ride. Now look, I've been on some sketchy bikes in my past, and cars for that matter. This is the top. I went a mile down the road, a mile back, and you cannot keep this bike straight. It's like I'm not even in control. It's going here, it's going there, it's jerking this way, that way. I looked up, the clouds parted. I thought, this is how I'm going on a Honda. So, welcome to part 3 of this chopper now front end rebuild. It is charging now. So you may be asking yourself, like I was going down the road on this, what is going on with this front end? Well, there were several things once I tore into it, and I should have shot a video tearing into it, but I guess I was just so shell-shocked I didn't. As soon as I got back up. Now, those of you with a keen eye can see that one side of the tire is brand new. The other side of the tire is wore down. This tire has been riding like this, pointed that way for a while. What's causing that? I thought, well, maybe wheel bearings. Got the bike on the lift, jacked up the front end, the wheel would not even freely spin. Looked at the brake rotor, whop, 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 whop. Okay, that's the problem. Took the brake caliper off. Said, okay, let's just do this. Let's take the whole front brake system off. It's a chopper. That's acceptable. Not dangerous at all. Then, took the brake rotor off, put the wheel back on, checked the wheel bearings. They were surprisingly good, but I was looking at the wheel and it was, It's like, okay. Actually, beep, that way. I said, okay, something's wrong with the forks. Got a bent tube or something. So I got to looking up at the top, of the triple trees, where the forks come out of here. One was 3 inches high. The other was flush. How did I miss that? I'm an idiot. Put the wheel axle back in. You could see it was like that. Dropped the fork, squared it up perfectly. Thought, well, since I'm this far, we're going to have to replace the tire. I've got a good tire that I've just had sitting back here. It's brand new, even the rim. But this is a wide glide, so this rim's not going to work, but the tire is brand new. So that will work. Throw that on that rim. Keep the brake caliper or pad off for now, brake rotor off for now. Started going through the neck and neck bearings. I'm like, let me check those. So the bottom wheel bearing was this. It's a good Timken bearing. It's a size L44643. I believe it's kind of wore off. Surprisingly, these are the same as trailer wheel bearings, if you're curious or need any at the parts store. My parts store didn't carry the Timkens, and this one was in really good shape. Looks like they might have replaced it. The shaft looked like it was in good shape. It goes like that. They had a nut on top, but they did not have the bolt that goes down in there on it to keep the nut from backing off. So I found a bolt to go down in there, a little cap that's off of a handlebar bushing cap to go in there, and that'll lock that in. Underneath that, they had this bearing here, which is destroyed. It's smashed, it's bent. It does not hardly turn. If it does, it's really rough and gritty. That one's shot. So I picked up a new one at the parts store. Another issue that I found is that when this is on here, since it's a Sportster, it's got this little tab here that's a stop for when you turn. That hits that, that hits that. The problem is it's been rubbing right there on the tip of this tab. So when you put it up here, it rubs, so it'll catch. You'll try to turn the bike, it won't turn. You turn harder, whoop, it really turns. So that was a problem as well. So bad neck bearing, bad putting together stuff, bad tire, forks uneven. I did check the forks, they're in great shape. I have a lot of, boy, they're tall. A lot of good spring to them. They're not leaking. They were just not set level for some reason. You know, everybody was saying, man, it looks like they just threw this bike together just to sell it. It was parts everywhere. Let's put it together, let's sell it. But that tire was ridden like that for a long time. Whoever the guy was riding this bike to wear that tire all the way down has some mad skills, or really doesn't care about life that much. I don't know. Might be a little of both. So we're not going to mess with shaving this down. Also, the bracket that holds the headlight on was hitting this as well. So my plans, if we have one, is this. Let's shave this down enough where it still catches, but shave it down where it doesn't rub the bottom of the triple tree. That should clear that bolt on this as well. Let me get over here and show you. This is the bracket that holds the light on, and you can see it's been rubbing that as well. So I will shave this down as well, just to give some more clearance, and this little cover thing here too for it. Besides that, the races surprisingly look good and they feel good, so I won't be replacing the races. I just have a new bearing to go on the top. I want to use that Timken. Now remember, we're stripping this down in the winter and totally rebuilding it nice showroom condition. So that's going to, you know, be this winter. I didn't want to do all that now. Let's just get it riding. You can enjoy it. As far as the hardtail, going down my driveway, I was like a chipmunk with his face in the wind. My jaws were just a flapping, but it wasn't that bad. It was comfortable. I think it's going to be a good ride for him. The bars felt good where they were set at. Now I do have another issue. The carburetor. When I rev it and then let off, it doesn't snap back quick enough to let the RPMs idle down in order to change the gears. It keeps grinding into the gears, and that's not good. So we got to do some research here. The slides were going up and down. 2 and 4 were a little tight, but not bad. It's got a spring on it. That's the factory spring on it. It still has a lot of tension, and it snaps back good. Is it in the cable? Not letting it release good? I don't know. We got to figure that out. So let's get back to putting this front end back together. Let's change this tire out, put it on. I want to set the nut where the fall away feels good. However, the way they had the nut set up, this is off of a Sportster. This is actually goes underneath the big nut. This is how you actually adjust. So you loosen the big nut up, you take a flathead in here and you tap, either tighten, loosen, whichever way it goes, I can't remember. But the threads on this have been bored out, and this was just setting under. So there's no way to adjust the fall away of the forks. It was adjusted by that nut, and there was no lock screw in the top to lock that nut into place. So we're going to have to figure something out enough to where it's safe for my dad to ride, and then a total rebuild this winter. Now, I've already had a couple of calls from my subscribers saying, hey, is he interested in selling that? That's a pretty sweet ride. Not at the moment, but he probably will here in a couple of months. I don't know. He's always wanted a 750 hardtail king queen chopper, so he might keep it, but I don't know. So let's get into putting the triple tree back in. Let's pack the new bearing. Oh, the new bearing, I'll show you that. So the new bearing is an International. and it is an L44 643. I always, if this was a customer's bike, I would always recommend a Timken USA bearing. They last forever, as you can see by that bottom bearing. But like I said, this is for my dad, and we're just getting by, getting it rideable. And so this will do fine until the winter. When we go in the winter, I will pull the forks off again, the triple trees, the neck axle out, or neck shaft out, and we will replace with brand new Timkens and replace the races probably as well. Well, let's get this packed. I want to start grinding on the front, put the triple trees in to see, or at least that bottom triple tree, to make sure we have good clearance. I had to wait till it kind of cooled off today to come in here and work in the evening and at night, because man, when I turn that fan off, it's just water pouring out of me. So we're back though. I did make some reference marks to where that those side tabs hit on the bottom of that triple tree, but I want to shave a lot of this off the top. Not too much, but I don't want to go below my reference marks. I just got a flap disc here, and I'll just kind of, don't need much, but I do want to have good clearance. So let's just get on it. Lower tree on first, then the bearing, then this. Still lack a little. Left side is fine, but I don't have that top bearing. Now let me throw that top bearing on, just so I know we're centered. There we go. Now right side needs a little bit more. Left side looks like it's not touching. Oh, just a tickle. Just a tickle more. And surely that ought to get it. Oh yeah. Still got our stops working. Now we've got clearance. Beautiful. I want to spray these races off, but like I said, they feel really good. I don't see a need to replace them right now. We will when we do the rebuild this winter. So looks like that issue is fixed. While I got the grinder out, I will work on this as well so it doesn't rub. Just take a little bit off that as well. Alrighty, I think that's going to be clear enough for us. Now we'll clean up, repack, and put it back up in there, and then we'll test the fall out. The fall over, the fall down, the free fall? I don't know. Alright, I cleaned this Timken bearing out best I could. Now, it's still good. Definitely needed some fresh grease in it. And this is our new bearing. This was the old top bearing, and it has a flat spot here, and it is really rough and rolling. So I don't know what brand this is. Can't tell. There's no markings besides the number on it, so I'm not sure. This is a national, just what they had in stock. That'll get us by. Now when I took the neck off, there were shims that sat on the bearings that rode against the bottom triple tree and the upper triple tree. But there are some grooves in this, and I suspect that's from it being too tight and bearing going loose and rubbing, digging into there. On this side, it's nice and smooth. On this side, there's a ridge. I'm hoping that doesn't give us any issues. He might even go to a Springer front end this winter when we do the rebuild. But I got some grease here. Let's go ahead and set these shims aside. we'll probably do, it had 4 in it, 2 in the bottom and 2 in the top to space it out a little bit. So we'll probably be using those. Maybe just 1 in the bottom and 3 in the top, because I got to get that nut up, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Here's our new bearing. We'll just grab some grease and we'll just start pressing that grease into our bearing. And what we want to look for, if you've never pressed bearings with grease before, is you want to get enough grease built up in the palm here, right where your fingers are. And kind of, you can even put it down here. Then you want to press that grease all around this outer lip. And you want to press it up into where the bearings, roller bearings are. So you'll press it down, you'll roll it all around, get some more grease, the more the merrier. Get it down and just use force to press that grease in. And what you'll find as you do that is grease will come out all these rollers here on the side, and that is what you want. Don't just smear it on the outside and think that's it. You want to be able to roll this and it be nice and full. Now there are some seals that go on the outside of this, but this one didn't have it. It just had the shims. The seals help keep the grease in, and some shafts that these bearings ride on even have a grease fitting in the neck, and that bike does not. So we will be probably finding seals this winter, but this grease should get us through the riding season, and that bearing is good. Take our Timken, which I really like the Timkens. I'm using just Valvoline grease. It's for wheel cylinders, it's for brake disc bearings, it's for wheel bearings. It's made for bearings. I don't know if there's really a difference in it or not as far as grease. I'm sure there's synthetic greases and things like that, but bearing grease is what I shoot for and what I apply. So our shaft goes in the bottom of the triple tree. There is a retainer ring, snap ring on this, different settings, and it just snaps on like that. We'll drop our spacer in. We'll do another one. That'll help keep that bearing up. We'll take our Timken, flip it over, run that down, and set that on there. All right. Now we're ready to go put this on the bike and run it up in there, and we'll do our top, or we'll do our top bearing, spacers, and shims as well on top of that, then our top of the triple tree. All right, I've cleaned off up in here for our bearing. Slide that up in. Those shims are keeping it out. Nothing's rubbing and grinding. That's good. We'll go ahead and drop our top bearing in. Huh. Well, well, well. Oh, wasn't holding my mouth right. I was going to say, I know that bearing fits. I dry fitted it. Just wasn't holding my mouth right, I guess. I'm going to wear all the daggum grease out of it before I get it on there. Come on. Come on, bearing. There we go. Drop that in there. A couple shims. Now the triple tree. And let's see, dang. Now how am I going to get the triple tree on? Holding all this up here. All right, still have the throttle cable hooked up. My hands are greasy. Got to try to hold this and somehow bring this around, up, over, and down. Okay, can you stay there? All right. Oh yeah. Oh, nice. Okay. Now we're nice. Oh yeah. Now let me get that nut on there. Okay. That's why they had a spacer on top. All right, I gotta pull this off. Put that down like that. Let's get our nut on the top. It did have a, for sure, a big old nut. It also has a pinch bolt on the side as well. Oh yeah, that's gonna work out great. Okay, everything's super, super loose right now, but it's on there. Then I do have this bolt and this washer that will go on top once I get the tension where I will feel comfortable with it. But at this time right here, it's back together. It's not going anywhere. I can go ahead now and run my forks in and then set the tension where the fall away is where I want it. All right, my first fork's going up the tube. Okay. If these are tight going up and you have trouble with them, you can always spray some penetration up in there. I want to set them down about there to start with. And then we can tighten that up. 5/16 bolt, just so it doesn't go anywhere on us. And we'll do the left side. It's going up in. I'll bring it down a little bit so I can see where my levels are. About spot on. Looks good. Tighten that up there. We'll try that out. Throw the other bolt in this. The other pinch bolt. In the summer times, I'll come out here and work at night where I don't have any heat and air out here. I'll come out about 7 or 8, and then I'll work till about 2 in the morning. And it's kind of peaceful. My stops are still stopping. Nothing is touching and grinding. Everything looks good. I'll run that bolt in. I will not tighten that bolt yet. Now I don't have my wheel on, but if I put my wheel on and try to do this test, it won't clear the clamp on the lift. So I have to do these with no wheel on. Yes, I could get it off the lift, jack it up, and do it, but we're just going to tighten it with this on. So I'm going to tighten this nut up. This will draw everything together until I feel with the fall away test where I want it to be. Get a clamp on that. Usually there's a provision here for like a socket to go up in here or a Allen head to go up in the bottom of this, and there's not, so I got to get some vice grips. That should do it. One more ooba gooba. Now let's see what we got. Now, okay. Okay. Go the other way. Okay. That feels pretty good. I might loosen it just a scooch. See how that feels. It's not falling quite as much as I'd like, but it is raked out. So usually when they're raked out like this, you want them a little bit tighter. All right. I like that. I think I'm happy. With that. I messed up. The slide, I gotta drop this fork again and get this slide in here. But I have this neck now set where I like it. I can go ahead now and tighten this down. I gotta loosen these and drop this down just enough to get this back up in here, the wiring for the headlight. This one's kind of stiff to get up in there, so it's not gonna drop out on me. Oh. Prove me wrong. It's like a kid. As soon as you brag on a kid, that is when they will show out. All right, I want to put that there. I'll put that down there. Oh, good. That's now clearing, so that's good. And then this had a lock nut on top and a fancy nut on top of that. This one was way up. I did not notice it before the test drive, and I wish I had, but it wouldn't have helped the way that tire was. Now I'll get you over here and let you see that axle now. That falls away good. That falls away good. I like it. I like it. So now, as you can see, that axle dead on when I'm looking at the front of the bike. Now, it was whoop, like that. So, and now we got good fall away. That's good. Yes, I'm happy. Now, let's go swap the tire out. Put the rim back on and the wheel back on. We're going to leave the brake caliper off for now. Number one, that rotor was warped. Number two, it's a chopper. So let's try it without it. We'll probably be putting it back on. Okay, so I happened to find a brake rotor for the left side, actually. Same size. Now, here was the one that was on it. Find any flat surface you know to be flat. Usually a pane of glass works good, or a tile or something you know is flat. Here's the one that was on it. Warped. Here's one I found. Not warped. So it is the same size, same bolt hole pattern. Should be same diameter. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. That way he can have front brakes, because just face it, he's old and needs the fronts. So now we got our wheel rolling really good. I did notice when I was putting this tire on that this rim has a bend in the lip, but when you roll the tire and look down the middle, it's not hopping. So I think we're going to be okay. I did go ahead and put this brake rotor on. This is not the bolts that's supposed to go in there. They're supposed to be T-bits, T-heads, and they go down flush. But I just put these back on. We will be replacing all this probably now with this rim, replacing the rim this winter as well. This is a great tire, Bridgestone. I like the Shinko tires myself. They're cheap, they're soft. Yeah, they don't last as long, but they're cheap. And you can get some good riding seasons out of them. If you ever see a yellow dot on your tire, if you do your own tires, I don't know, a lot of you might not have motorcycle tire machines like I do. One of the best things I ever bought for the shop. But this yellow dot is to line up with your valve stem. The tube that was in this tire was a heavy duty tube, probably 3 times thicker than the tube that was on this rim. So I put the tube that was with this tire on the rim. I cleaned up around inside the rim, the little rubber thing on the inside that protects the tube from the spokes is fine. Now I'm going to fit the brake caliper up on here. If that brake caliper starts giving me trouble where it's not spaced out right, then that was probably a big part of the issue as well. The pads look good, but I just want to see how this is going to line up. All right, it doesn't look like this is going to be giving us any trouble really at all. So now let's see what we got now. That's much better. Much better. I think that's good. So I can go ahead and put the brake lever back up. All right, let's test her out. Oh, yeah. All right. I think that did it, guys. I think that did it. Where are you at? What are you hiding for? Okay, so I think we got the front end done, figured out. Man, it's a whole lot nicer. I want to take it down the road, not at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I'm going to take it down the road and see how she turns it. It might still be a little bit too loose. I might need to tighten it a little bit more. So I'm not going to put that end cap on yet that holds the nut down. I'm going to wait on that. I'll mark it so I know the nut doesn't move while I ride it. But I just want to take it down the road, thinking I might tighten it just a little bit. But it's level, it's even now. It looks like it's together a whole lot better. Now, why are you hiding like that? Now listen, we got the front end done. I feel pretty good about it. Pretty confident about that. However, carburetors. I've been studying up on them. Seems like intake leak is the #1 cause of that not going down. Also, behind the points, the throwout weights, advanced weights, might be stuck. And you know, we never pulled the points off to see what was behind there. So, we're going to do that. But to do that, I want to start the bike up, spray around all the intakes. They look new, look like somebody replaced them. I'm going to see if that changes the idle. Because they say when you rev it up, throttle it up, and let go, you know, you're bringing in a lot more fuel and air. And when you let go, if there's a leak, an air leak, the air just keeps coming in. It doesn't shut off. Also, if those mechanical advances are stuck, could happen the same thing. So I'm hoping it's one of those two things. It's pretty easy to deal with. But it's 1 in the morning. So I don't have neighbors close by, but I got kids in there sleeping. They should be sleeping. So I think I'm going to wait till in the morning, come out here and sweat, fire it up, let it run. I do want to check the throttle. Throttle feels fine, just not snapping back like I want it or like it should. But we got some stuff done today, so I'll see you bright and early in the morning. On to the carburetors. I checked all the intake boots while the bike's running, spraying starter fluid, carb cleaner, nothing, not a burp. So, pulled the points cover off, dual points. Even has it marked cylinder 1 and 4 and cylinder 2 and 3 in case you're having trouble with one. That's pretty neat. Now the advanced weights are back behind here, and when the bike is running, you can actually see them flying out and spinning. I did spray some PB Blast down in that hole while it was running, but I could see them flying up, and then you let the idle down, they'd come back. So the weights are working behind the points. So then I could went up here to this spring that attaches here and then comes up here to this arm that works this. And I noticed when I took a screwdriver and pushed down on the spring, it would idle back down. I'd let go, it'd stay. I'd throttle it, it'd go up. When I release the throttle, it wouldn't come all the way down. I'd take that spring and pull it down and it would go back down. But I looked at the spring does not look like it's flexed out. So I said, okay, it's something going on with not snapping back. So I looked at all the fittings up here, all the way across this rod here, which seems to be two separate rods. I don't know how it's connected inside here. This was loose here, and one was loose on the other side as well. I thought, well, maybe that's it. So I loosened all of them, put the idle down, slides flat, the choke or the throttle cable tight, tighten them all down just so it kind of lined up. It was better, but still not idling down when you let off the throttle. I did check the cable. The cable's operating fine. I held the one end with my hand after I took it off and then twisted the throttle with the other. There was absolutely no catch, nothing to be alarmed about there. So I said, okay, the problem then, if it's none of those things, has to be in these slides. And I've had so much trouble with these slides. So I think I have discovered the problem. Here's slide 1, cylinder 1. Okay, that should fall when I let go of it. Now it does fall if I just tap it a little bit. So of all of them, this one's working the best, but it's supposed to fall. Number 2 is tight. And that right there is not good. It's supposed to fall. I have to actually push it down and push it pretty hard. Let's go check number 3. Same. Well, a little better than 2, but worse than number 1. Number 4. A little better than 3. So 1 is my best, 4 is worse, 3 is worse, and 2 is absolutely unacceptable. So what does that mean? I decided to take that slide thing out, the arm thingamajiggies. I'm so glad that I did. It's a shaft like this. It has different cutouts for the arms, different cutouts for the throttle bracket, and little keyways that the arms are cut out here, and they slide. Put the key in and then it locks into this arm here. That way when you turn the throttle shaft, this turns with it. So pretty neat design, and I'm glad I took this off. There is a plastic, I guess you'd say bearing spacer inside these two. This one had got some metal in it some way, and it had gotten inside this little ridge, and it had, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's actually a divot there. There was a piece of metal stuck in there, and what it would do is it would turn up, and then when it would go down with the spring on, it would stop at that one spot, and then I could push it and I could feel it go on down. I'm pretty sure that was our problem all along. Now this slides in. I cleaned it up good. It slides in good and turns good now. It was not doing that before. It would catch right where when these keyways get about it right here, it would catch, and then I would have to push it through. So I'm thinking that was our culprit. So I'm going to assemble these now. I did pull these out. I cleaned down in there. It was clean, but I thought, well, maybe there's some burrs. So I got a broken round file on a drill, and just kind of went around very carefully to relieve any burrs. And so now it's a lot better. They're all good now. So I think that our issue was this. Now let's see if we can hold my mouth right and get all this back on, because it kind of all goes back together. But before that, let's put these on now that the arm's off, and it'll be a whole lot easier. Let's put this puzzle back together. This cutout here, I'm not sure what it's for. Somebody will probably bleep it down there in the comments. There was nothing inside it except trash and a piece of metal. There was this ring here that was wedged into this spacer, this thing here. This right here inside, but this doesn't fit down in there and it doesn't catch. So I'm leaving that out. Now, this arm with the throttle goes down here, goes under this like this. So the keeper that's on the very end goes on cylinder 1. So I'll just slide this in. And I tell you, I had to hammer this out. Now it slides in great. It had this little lock which locks down on these tops right here. Okay. And then our throttle has a plastic washer on one side, a plastic washer on the other. Then this spring, when I took this spring off, the spring was just sitting here like this. It wasn't doing anything. There was no tension in that spring at all. So I'm wondering if this goes on, catches this, goes up and into that hole. It seems like that would make sense. And then your spring down here, and then that throttle is good and tight. So we'll try that. And that goes in there. That spring has got me under some tension there. And I want to line up my keyways. I'm going to take this spring off for now, because it's really making it hard to slide things in. All right. So I have my 2 keyways here. I'll drop one in there. Drop the other one in over here. It's a nice, good, even fit. And then we'll raise these arms and twist this. That arm's in. That arm's in. All right. Okay, the keyways are in and centered. Now these will go up when that rotates. Have this lock here. Then I'm going to run down while I can see where it goes. It's got a 10mm bolt with an 8mm nut underneath it. So I'm going to run this down till it grabs that flat of the rod, and then lock down that 8mm nut. I'm guessing that's how that goes. I'm just taking a stab at it with this side. with that spring. It's been so hot here today. How is it up your way, down your way, over your way, under your way? How's the weather? Now, as far as these will go back and forth. What I want to do is put those, rubber spacer things on. Then that will line up so I'm square on where all this should be. Oh man, that is snapping closed now. Let's go put this back on the bike, and hopefully that fixed our issue. I'm pretty confident it did. The only thing left to try, if it didn't, is to try to plug this. Well, let's just throw everything back on the bike and see how she does. Okay, we got the carburetor back in. We got the fuel in it. I believe there's enough fuel in the bowls. And let's see if that was our fix. Key on, start. Right, that was a success. Now let's get it off the lift and take it for another test drive. Well, I'm here to tell you, the second test ride was a whole lot nicer than the first. This thing rode like a dream. I was shocked. I'm like, am I on a Honda? I don't know. It's like a Cadillac, and it's a hardtail. So much power because everything is so light of a bike. And man, when you get on, you don't got to get out of first gear. It's got all the juice you need. And I'm so pleased. Thank you so much for helping me out in the shop and working all through all the issues. And I mean, it's just great. We can get on it and he can get on it. And I feel good now about him riding it. Not have to worry about him for breaking down. I might tweak on the carb, vacuum or air fuel intake thing. But that shaft, having that metal piece in there, was the issue. Now it shifts good. I was able to get into all the gears. And I'll tell you, if you ride Harleys, you're used to, when you come up to a stop, having to take a gamble on finding neutral. Might be second. You might get into third. This bike, if you're not careful, you'll go into neutral without realizing it if you toe just taps up a little bit if you're in first gear. So couldn't be more happier. What a great bike. If he does ever decide to sell this, it's going to make somebody a really, really nice bike. I hope he keeps it. If he sells it, I might pick it up myself just because it's so fun. This winter now, we'll be rebuilding it, taking it apart, doing the paint, cleaning everything, maybe Springer front end, but that front end is really nice. So smooth, no jarring. You go around the curve, you just lean. You don't even have to turn. Now I did notice some oil weeping. I believe it might be maybe around the head, so head gasket. So we'll probably, when we pull this motor out to powder coat the frame, we'll probably just go ahead and rebuild the motor. So there's a lot more to come with this coming in this winter time when the shop kind of slows down and we can do some fun stuff. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for now these 3 videos, and tell your mom and them I said hi.